NFTs have been a hotly debated subject on the internet. A lot of people dismiss them as just another crypto scam that brings no value to society. But this week, we got to learn all about the Walking Between Worlds collection of NFTs. In this video, we'll take a look at this initiative and the good that it promises to do for indigenous artists. So, what is Walking Between Worlds? One of the stated benefits of NFTs is that it can empower artists in the digital age. It allows an artist to embed proof of authorship into the blockchain identity of their creations, and the record of transactions involving a piece of art allows the artist to claim royalties for it. But this is a very technical thing, and understanding how NFTs work can be pretty challenging. Walking Between Worlds is a project that's ultimately trying to create a platform for indigenous communities to showcase their art through the magic of NFTs. You see, indigenous communities have an additional disadvantage in that they're usually repressed in their societies. They live in communities away from urban centers and have relatively low incomes. These two factors combine to hold indigenous communities back from accessing technology, and understanding and using NFTs are a long way off from there. The WBW platform will allow indigenous artists to easily create NFTs of their artwork, which will allow them to place their art on the digital marketplace. It can then be bought and sold just like one of those Bored Apes, and the artists can benefit from it and make sure that their identity isn't lost in the shuffle of the art market. Other features of the platform include a social network that'll allow artists to connect and collaborate. There will also be classes and online resources to educate users on what NFTs are, what WBW is, and how to best leverage the tech and the platform. Finally, to attract art investors, WBW will have NFT galleries for investors to engage with the art and the artists. They've already committed to making their digital gallery an actual gallery that you can visit in the metaverse, whenever that becomes a thing. Okay, what kind of art can we expect from this platform? Walking Between Worlds has laid out the concept behind their first collection, which they're calling Genesis. As you can tell from the name, this collection is all about exploring the history of our world and society through the voices of the First Nations that have lived in parts of the world. The focus of the Genesis collection is on the Australian and Torres Strait Island indigenous communities, known as Aboriginals. Anthropologists estimate that the Aboriginal community is up to 50,000 years old. That would make it the oldest continuously living culture in the planet's history. How do estimates like that come about? At 50,000 years old, the Aboriginal community is a lot older than the concept of writing things down. But this culture has been passed down through the eons by simple drawings and chiefly what anthropologists call oral tradition. That's just a complicated term meaning bedtime and campfire stories. But Genesis is more than just a history lesson at the Louvre. As much as the world has changed, many of the problems we face are echoes of problems our ancestors solved centuries ago. WBW points specifically to the pandemic and the job loss that came with it as an example of a crisis that we're facing today. The Genesis collection will allow Aborigines to share the wisdom of their culture so that everyone in the world can learn from it. Perhaps by sticking our ear to the wall of time, we may hear something that can benefit us in the present. Is it just an art-sharing platform, though? There's a lot more to it than that, because Walking Between Worlds wants to use the funds it generates for more lofty causes too. That does mean that artists who use the platform won't get 100% of the revenue from their art, but they do get something out of the platform. On their website, WBW explains the breakdown of how they use their earnings. A 30% cut of the money earned from any art sales goes to the artists themselves. That much is easy to get. Another 30% will be taken by the WBW organization to pay for their expenses, as well as to invest into further developing the platform. Yet another 30% will be donated to a charity. The artist will get to choose their charity of choice for the donation, though they probably won't be able to choose themselves. That covers the bulk of what happens with the revenue that WBW brings in. They mention a 5% share for the contingency costs, which is kind of a corporate rainy day fund. The last chunk of the pie is divided into two 2.5% slices, one for legal and regulatory costs, while the other is something called the carbon offset. The carbon offset is an important part of the equation. Whether you like crypto or not, it's unfortunately true that the whole system of blockchains and crypto assets consumes a whole lot of power and generates a whole lot of waste. Cryptocurrencies in particular can outmatch entire countries in terms of energy generation. With all this in mind, the idea of a planet-loving NFT platform is a bit ironic. That's why WBW is committing themselves to donating 2.5% of all proceeds from the platform towards carbon-negative initiatives, like planting trees and such. They tout the platform as being carbon-negative overall. These are ideals, though, and time will tell how much of this actually plays out the way WBW says it will. It's a really interesting idea though, and we'll be keeping an eye out for this Genesis collection and whatever else WBW has in store for the future. In other news, bad news, NFT sales are trending down. Did you know that the sales of NFTs peaked at 225,000 sales in September of last year? That's a crazy sales volume for something the average person doesn't understand yet. You want to know what else is crazy? Sales have declined sharply since then to 19,000 in May. It looks like NFTs have gotten caught up in the same market crash that tanked the cryptocurrency market at the same time. Rising inflations and stagnant wages, particularly in the US and UK, have gotten investors feeling antsy about their riskier investments, and an investment in NFTs is hard to justify at the best of times. So it's only natural that they were among the first things they divested from. Consider this as a sign of the times. An NFT of the very first tweet on Twitter is owned by Sina Estavi, chief executive of the blockchain company Bridge Oracle. He spent $2.9 million to acquire it last March, so a little over a year ago. Possibly motivated by the market crash, he listed his NFT for sale and didn't get a single bid higher than $14,000. That's a steep drop in value, so it's no wonder that Sina decided to hold on to the NFT. He remains optimistic that the market is just fluctuating and it'll recover. Judging from the market performance of cryptocurrencies, we're a little more skeptical, but it gets worse. OpenSea admits to being hacked. While there are tons of cryptocurrency trading platforms out there, OpenSea has pretty much cornered the market on NFT trading, which is why their confession of having the data of their users breached was seriously concerning. Apparently, an employee at their email delivery vendor, Customer.io, was able to take advantage of their access to OpenSea's data to leak the email addresses of users to a third party. OpenSea is investigating the matter with Customer.io, but they're saying that anyone who's ever shared their email address with them should assume themselves to be impacted. That would encompass at least 1.8 million people who've made transactions through the platform. This unfortunately isn't the first time OpenSea has experienced something like this. Just in February, OpenSea was hit by a phishing attack, and the losses were more devastating there. 32 users lost 1.7 million worth of NFTs in the attack. 2 data breaches in the same year is gonna motivate investors to look for alternatives to OpenSea. Finally, some possible good news. BAYC v. RIPS. A common attack against the whole concept of NFTs is the right-click and save image. That's the idea that it isn't worth paying millions of dollars for ownership of a digital image when anyone can save the image to their device. But conceptual artist Ryder Ripps wanted to further discredit NFTs, and he hatched a scheme to do it. He set his sights on the popular Bored Apes NFTs, and he started saving the apes and associating with a different crypto token. In other words, he used the Bored Ape network to create a whole new NFT, and then he sold them for $200 a pop. Obviously, the parent company of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, Yuga Labs, was not happy about this. They're charging Ripps with false advertising and trademark infringement, among other charges. Ripps is defending himself by saying that this whole project is just a satire of NFTs, BAYC, and the whole culture surrounding them. By that token, his actions are protected by the First Amendment. If BAYC wins the case, it'd stop others from trying something like Ripps did. It might also spur the crypto community to come up with a mechanism for NFT owners to assert their authority. So there's some good news to finish off on, and our crypto coverage comes to an end here. What do you think of the Walking Between Worlds project? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.